What's up my loves, my name is Paige, this is Pages with Paige, and today I'm going to be doing Scallywagathon Recommendations. So the Scallywagathon is running from the 16th of August to the 23rd of August and hosted by Hardback Hoarder, Read All the Books and Paper Fairy. I'm going to go through the prompts, let you know what they are, and then recommend a book that fulfills each prompt. Number 1 is Captain's Cabin. Read a book by the most popular author on your TBR, and I've decided to go with Nnedi Okorafor. So I've read Binti before, and I really want to read Binti home. So for this recommendation, I'm going with Binti. This is a sci-fi adventure as Binti leaves her home, which is Earth, to seek further education in space, and along the way there is an confrontation with another species, and it's looking at communication and how far you're willing to go to better yourself. Number 2 is Deep Sea Legend. Read a book based around myth or myths, and I've decided to go with The Penelopeia by Margaret Atwood. This is following Penelope as she reflects on life in the Odyssey, the Trojan War, and life in Hades, and it's a really unique take on the women's perspective. I read it back in 2011, 2012 for school, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the only English books that I ever actually enjoyed. I definitely would recommend branching into this. I think it's a feminist take on it as well. The next is Aye Aye Captain. Read a book that has 2 I's in the title. And for this, I'm recommending The Library of the Unwritten by AJ Hackworth. I read this earlier in this year, and I don't actually have my copy at the moment because so many friends have borrowed it out. This is following a librarian as one of the books from hell has escaped, and she needs to track it down in the real world. And it's just adventure, it's fun, it follows a lot of different perspectives, and the idea of this library of all the unfinished books that have ever been created in the world just blows my mind. It was really intricately done, and I really love seeing the different kinds of hells and belief systems that are in place with different religions, societies, cultures, and all of that. The next is Code of Honor, the first book recommendation in a video. So I'll leave a link below to Gavin's middle grade recommendations for Believathon. And the first book that he recommended was the Widdisham Sisters series, and that is A Pinch of Magic and A Sprinkle of Sorcery by Michelle Harrison. I absolutely adore both of these books, and I definitely feel that A Sprinkle of Sorcery fits the vibes of this readathon so well. They're on a boat, and it's a race against time. They're facing off with pirates, and it's just a really beautiful middle grade, and definitely would recommend. So if you've read A Pinch of Magic or want that to fulfill another prompt and then dive into A Sprinkle of Sorcery, I definitely recommend it for this. The next is Ahoy Hearties, featuring friend groups. So I've gone with Witches of Ash and Ruin by E. Latimer. This is following a coven of witches and Danya Walsh, who is struggling to cope with her OCD after being outed as bisexual in her small Irish community. And the coven relationships and friendships in this is just so strong and so wonderful. And yeah, so definitely would recommend this as a friend group. The coven itself feels like family and friendship. Next is Bawdy Songs. Read a book that has romance in it. So this doesn't have to be a romance book. It can just have elements of it, but I've decided to go with one of my favorite romance reads of 2019, and that's Well Met by Jean DeLuca. I adored this book. I thought it was hilarious. This is following Emily when she moves to Willow Creek, Maryland, to help her sister who's been in a car accident and can't walk, and to look after her niece, as well as following Simon, who runs a Renaissance fair, and they start off on the wrong foot, and she plays a tavern wench and he plays this swashbuckling pirate character. But when he's in costume and their chemistry is just so wonderful, and yeah, definitely would recommend this. The next is Precious Cargo, read a middle grade, and one that I cannot recommend highly enough is Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the Well by Ashley Herring Blake. I read this recently for Detectathon hosted by Mind of Mollie. This was a great book, and I'm so thankful because this is phenomenal. So Ivy has recently lost her home when a tornado came through her town and destroyed her home, and she had a sketchbook filled with pictures of her and girls, and so it's exploring sexuality, it's exploring how you rebuild when you feel that you've lost everything, and it's just so beautiful. And I love Ashley Herring Blake's writing. I've loved Girls Made of Stars, so yeah, definitely this middle grade, absolutely wonderful. The next is Volcano Bay, read a book that has exploded with popularity, and recently The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune has absolutely blown up. I have yet to read it, but I'm so interested, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews, so I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't already. I feel like I'm going to be one of the last people to read it because that's just how I am with trends, but oh my goodness, everything about this screams yes. So for our detours, the first detour is Washed Ashore, read a book that was published 3+ years ago, and I'm going with Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alira Sands, and this is following Aristotle and Dante as they discover life together. They develop a really powerful bond and friendship, and just exploring how life is different for both of them, but they can come together and overcome hurdles to really just be the best friends that they can be. And yeah, I think this is brilliant, and I think this was 2012 publication, so definitely more than 3+ years. The next is Be Lost at Sea, read a book you've forgotten you had, and with my read shelves, I rarely ever forget the ones that I have read, so I've gone with another one that I haven't yet read, but I'm excited to because I keep forgetting about it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I own that, I can read that now, and that's My Sister's the Serial Killer by Anya Khan-Brathwaite, and this is following two sisters, one who constantly is cleaning up the messes of the other, as she happens to have predicaments with her boyfriends and they all end up dead. But when the sister starts crushing on the non-killer sister's crush, the sister decides whether she can keep cleaning up the messes, and she's concerned for her crush's well-being. So I'm very excited to get to this. The next is Crescent Isle, read a book that has mermaids or sirens, and I know that this is recommended on the website. I've tried not to double up, but yeah, I'm actually recommending the prequel, and that is Into the Drowning Deep, and the prequel is Rolling in the Deep. So this is following a voyage that went into the Mariana Trench to film a mockumentary about mermaids, and this Discovery crew is going to find what happened because 7 years ago that crew never returned. Rolling in the Deep is following that crew from 7 years ago. I don't think you need to read Into the Drowning Deep to maximize Rolling in the Deep. You can read it first, and technically it is a prequel, but yeah, I definitely recommend either of them. They're just really atmospheric and spooky reads that definitely involve sirens. So we're now back on track, and number 9 is Black Sails, read a book that has a black cover, and I couldn't not recommend one of my favorites of 2018, and that is If We Were Villains by Emma Rio. This is following a group of students at an elite Shakespearean school, and there was a incident 10 years ago, so one of them is now in jail, and 10 years on he's been released, and this is following his story of what actually happened, why all of this unfurled as it did, and yeah, I absolutely love everything about it. I think it would be pretty quick for a readathon. I've tried to find ones that would suit well for having just 8 days, but you only need to read 4 over the time. But yeah, I definitely recommend this. I think it is so much fun, and it's just so atmospheric and wonderful. And the final recommendation I have is Gold Doubloons, a book that was a cover by, and one book that I bought instantly because of the cover was The Bells by Doniel Clayton. This is following Camilla as she navigates into the royal family. In this world, everyone's born grey, and the bells have the ability to add colour, life, and beauty to the world. It's interesting to see how the story unfolds, and that there is deeper secrets running. It says, when the Queen asks Camilla to break the rules she lives by to save the alien princess, she faces an impossible decision: protect herself in the way of the bells, or risk her own life and change the world forever. So I highly recommend this. I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. It's quick to fly through because it is YA, so even though it's a little bit on the chunky side, it's definitely a quick read. So these are just some recommendations I have for the Scallywagathon. The links to the website have way more recommendations, and I tried not to double up on any of those. So that and the Twitter will also be linked below, as well as the links to each of the co-hosts' channels. Please go check it out. I think this is a fantastic readathon. Back in 2018, I participated when I was teaching and adapted it so my kids would be able to participate in it, and they absolutely had a blast. So I'm so excited to be a part of this and give you my recommendations. So let me know in the comments below, are you going to participate? You only need to read 4 books in 8 days. That's quite intimidating. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Bye!